Alright guys, so welcome back here to another tutorial. So now we have to kind of create a generic wheel. I have here an example of more or less how this is gonna work, and as you can see here I have the wheels kind of twisted properly. I just need to make sure that we add this to our game, right? So the way I did this, it's very simple, but there's a couple of things we have to do, and I did this on off because it took me a couple of days to figure out this logic. But don't worry, it's everything simple, right? So on your project, make sure that you delete all the wheels you have, and let's just keep one called base wheel. I already have all the other models created, but here I created this thing called base wheel, right? Now on the base wheel, all I did here is a couple of things. So the first of all, make sure that the wheel you created, you delete all your constraints, and we're gonna add a wheel axis and a wheel suspension. Okay. Now what you're gonna do here is that you're gonna go to your wheel configurations on the axis. The most important thing you have to do here is then make sure the component name is the wheel. We're gonna disable collision so they don't collide between them. Now the projection, this stuff doesn't matter. Now make sure the linear limit is locked, like that. Now the most important part is the swing motion. So you're gonna go to swing motion 1, make sure all those two is locked. This one is free. Okay. Don't need to change this. Now the next settings we're gonna go is to angular, make sure slurp. Any other position we have to do. I think that's everything. Now, there is a problem with the model that I'm using, which this model that I created in Blender, unfortunately the collision is a little bit not correct. So what you have to do here is that you go back to components, we're going to add a cylinder, cylinder, alright. And then what you're going to do is just that you're going to do 90 degrees, you're going to adjust it like that, okay. And basically you're just gonna make this your wheel, right? So you put it right here. That's what I did. And this is where you see here wheel 1. If I go to the visible, that's what I did, right? Nice. So that's what you're gonna do. Second thing, we're gonna add the wheel suspension, which is gonna behave like as the bouncy option, all right? And this one is super simple as well. You're gonna go here after you add it. Make sure you go to the component, you add your wheel, and the component targets the cube for now. Now the next thing we need to do here is that we're gonna disable the collision. We're gonna make sure that X and Y are locked, and the motion on the Z axis is limited to 20. If you see here, if I increase this, this is how much the line can bounce, right? Like if I put, for example, 100 and I press play, it just behaves like a off-road car, right? Kind of, as you can see here, right? Anyway, let's just leave this to 20 for now. Now the next thing we need to do here is that we need to make sure that the swing motion is free, and everything here is set up to free, so you can swing any direction as long as it's constrained. Now the most important part here is that make sure the acceleration is turned on. And now the target here, you turn this on 0, but the strength is at 2000, sorry, and the damping is 50. And that's basically how you configure the constraint, right? We don't need to understand into details how this works. It's just that, you know, it gives this bouncy feel on the wheel here, all right? Now, however, there's a couple more things we have to do here in order to make this work properly, which even on my game right now, if I go here, it's not working. But we're gonna do this together, all right? Right, so the next thing we need to do is that go to your wheel. Now you have to just attach your model inside here. So what I did, I just did this, right? Went here, for example, if I wanna change to this mod to the medium one, so what I can do is just go that, I can delete this, go back to the medium and attach it right there, right? and then I can just do 0, 0, 0, and then in here I just need to kind of more or less edit here. Now if I go to visible, there's an option called visible that you can hide the mesh, turn it on again, and as you can see my wheel is attached. I'm just gonna, I don't know why is it doing this, but I'm just gonna keep this small one. I mean, to be honest, this one looks good. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. It kind of covers everything up. The only thing you need to make sure is that you set the collision to no collision. That's it. So it doesn't collide. You see? And now you can see that the wheel is actually touching the ground and everything looks really nice. Okay? Now that you did this, you don't have this, by the way. This is just something I was using for test. Now we can actually do the logic to apply this to our component. There's a couple of things we have to do here. So for example, I give you what I did on my test. So what I do is that I get all the wheels, I loop through all of them, then I simulate the physics, and then I call this method that I created called API set target constraint. And then what you're going to do is that on the wheel axis and the wheel suspension, you're going to set constraint components, this one here as well. And you just basically have like this. You're going to pass the wheel here as the component 1. And the component number 2 is the attach point, right? And in this way, it will attach and simulate the physics for you, all right? Now, the next thing we need to do is that we need to replicate this when we press F, so it simulates the physics, right? That's simple. Let's just go back here to our cube, right? Let's just open up here the components. Now here's where we have to do everything, right? So we have the logic to test the car. So what we're gonna do here is basically, before we simulate this, we're gonna delete all the sockets. Now we are gonna also get all the base wheel, all right? And I'm gonna attach the base wheel right here, and I'm gonna do a for each loop, right? Now I'm doing a for each loop. All I have to do now is get the wheel. Which one is the logic again? Yeah, this one. I'm just gonna copy this, and then you guys can copy after here. So I'm gonna basically get the wheel component. I'm gonna simulate here the logic of it, and then I'm gonna call the attach constraint. Now the attach constraint, I just have the connector block here, so I'm just gonna paste the connector block from the car part, and then after I'm gonna do this. Now, is there any other issues that we have? Yes, we do. This is because we need to apply the actor we're trying to attach. Now I'm gonna go back. I'm just gonna add the wheel number 1 and 2, right? So I still need to show you guys how I did this wheel, but don't worry about it. This is quite cool actually to see all this stuff spinning. And I'm gonna add this one here as well, right? Press F. Look at that. I get a full working cart. Now, don't worry about those, but let's just focus more on this one. The important part is that we got the wheel kind of behaving properly, and that's what we want. This is just behaving like that because I have those other actors. So what I can do here, I can delete that, and I can go back, and I can press play again. Go back to the chassis. Oh, simulated by mistake, sorry. Let's just do it again. And as you can see, we turn a very complicated logic into something very simple, right? And I'm gonna add the wheel number 2 and the wheel number 3, and that's it, F. And as you can see now, you have a full kind of working car, and it works in all directions. Of course, we may have to do a couple of adjustments later on, but right now it's looking quite good. All right. So now the next thing I want to tell you before I close this is that I did a couple of things in off. Unfortunately, it took me a long time to debug this. So way more time than on a video, will be so boring. So make sure that you create your base wheel, you have all that set up. Then on the base wheel L and R, all you have to do is just right click, create a child class, open up the child class, and depending on the wheel, you want to position this here and there. One thing very important as well, make sure that you move everything, right? All the suspensions and wheels and everything, okay? That's very important, otherwise your wheel will behave in a weird way. I'm just gonna delete this. And then you just go to your blueprint here and you attach the wheel L, the L and the wheel S R to your R, right? And now you have all this stuff here. Now in the next videos we're gonna be exploring now how we can create more parts, right? And also how we can save and load this stuff properly. And also one thing we need to do here as well is that instead of using, and let me just explain you one thing here as well. If I delete this, right? So if I, the next thing we have to do is that avoid using this stuff, get all actors of class, and we're gonna be using the master part to tell us which ones is the wheels, which ones is the batteries, and so on and so forth. Hope you guys enjoying, and please do review this part a couple of times. If you don't understand, take your time. Make sure that you go through all the wheels here, browse that properly, because unfortunately this is a very core part of our game, and we do need to have all these things working properly. So I'm just gonna add you all this stuff here. Make sure you pause, and then you can understand exactly what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve, right? Understand why we add the mesh here, why we did this stuff, and also understand here that we call the constraints. That also one thing I forgot to mention on the begin play, make sure you add set target constraint and you attach to the cube just on the begin play, just so that we stay attached. Otherwise this is gonna happen, right? If you don't have that, you see the wheel, I think it still works, but I mean maybe you don't need to do this, actually that's fine. And that's it guys, I hope you enjoy. It has been this is a core part of our game, and then the next one we're gonna create the saving system, I think, so we can load and do things faster. All right, thank you very much for watching, and I see you in the next one.